Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I am Sarah Maslowski with KeyPoint Homes Group, and with the channel Moving to Georgia, today we are talking about what is ahead in the real estate market and what we can expect in 2025. How are we feeling after last night's election? I know, you know, it's always a surprise, right? So I'm curious to know where you are watching us from. Let me know in the comments. Say hello. Tell me where you're watching from. Excited to be here with you tonight, talking about what is ahead. But first, before we talk about what's ahead, I would love to kind of share with you a little bit more about what's currently happening right here in the metro Atlanta area. So, um, you may be hearing this from where you are living, considering making a move here to Georgia, about the real estate market is slow. People are waiting till after the election. Well, here we are after the election. Are people just going to magically wake up tomorrow and decide to buy a house here in Georgia or where you are? Are we suddenly going to see an influx of buyers and sellers into the market? Well, I don't think it's going to happen that quickly. I kind of think it's funny that people were deciding to wait till after the election, or at least the sentiment of waiting till after the election, because I'm curious if this is you, if you were waiting till after the election to make a decision about what you were going to do. I'd be really curious to kind of see how the outcome affects that decision for you. What I see working day in and day out with clients is that people still have to move regardless of what happens with politics in our country, or people, their reasons for moving aren't really affected by who is in power. So I'd love to hear what your sentiments are around that. So locally here in the real estate market in the North Metro Atlanta area specifically, over the past, I would say, 8 weeks, things have been slow. Internally on boards that I'm with, on Facebook groups with other real estate agents, I'm constantly seeing post after post of agents saying, "Hey, how was your open house activity this weekend? Mine was slow. My listings are not getting any activity. What's going on?" And I see that again and again and again. And so overall, buyer activity in the metro Atlanta area, for the most part, is down. And this is a great thing for potential buyers. Now, you may be thinking, hey, interest rates are high and I don't want to wait for, or I want to wait for interest rates to come down. So it's not a good time to buy. What are you talking about? Well, I can tell you that every single client that I have put under contract in the past 2, 3 months have all significantly gotten a much better deal than what that list price of the house was. So, what this means, in addition to you not only getting a better price, but also getting money to cover your closing cost, getting money to take care of repairs that are desperately needed, saving funds so that you can apply that towards other uses, or heck, buying down your interest rate. So let's talk about the interest rates because the past couple of weeks, go back 4 weeks ago, we were celebrating that interest rates were on their way down. And we saw a bump down into the low sixes in early September. I think September 11th, they hit their lowest off of the Fed rate cutting, or the Fed cutting the Fed rate earlier in the month of September. October, September. Here we are. And we got down to the low sixes, and now we are facing a low 7% interest rates. So interest rates have slowly gone up over the past month, and they actually had a jump today, this morning, in reaction to the presidential election. And you also may be seeing headlines that the Fed is meeting again tomorrow, and they're expected to cut rates. And so it kind of seems like these two things don't really go hand in hand. How are we experiencing higher mortgage interest rates? Interest rates went higher because of President Trump being elected into office, and yet the Fed is announcing that they're going to cut rates. typically in a normal market, if we are getting indications from the Federal Reserve that they are going to lower the Fed rate, although it's not directly correlated and tied to the mortgage rates, usually we see some sort of movement in tandem. And usually that happens in anticipation or whenever we all are seeing the indicators that the Fed is going to make that rate cut. So, with that logic, we should have been seeing last week, in anticipation of the Fed cutting rates, interest rates for mortgages dropping. It's the exact opposite. We have seen interest rates jump up. And in fact, today was very volatile with the mortgage rates. And we saw 4 bump ups today, all throughout the day. And I think that's something that most consumers don't really understand is just how volatile those rates are. They can fluctuate from hour to hour based off of what's happening in the market. So, if you are just joining us talking about interest rates, what's ahead based on who's in office, obviously, we know that President Trump is going to be in office and kind of wanted to get your sentiments and feelings about how you think that's going to affect the real estate market next year, what you can expect, and how that might change what you might be planning on doing or give you a little bit more confidence. So, yeah. And if you have a question about making a move, please let me know in the chat. Say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. All right, let's take a look at some articles and then let's talk about why the interest rates of mortgage rates have jumped up over the past 24 hours in reaction to President Trump being elected. So I'm going to share a few articles that I found. So let me get my buttons going here. All right. Okay. So this is a CNBC article saying mortgage rates surge higher on Trump victory, causing housing stocks to fall. And so the average rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage surged 9 basis points to 7.13, according to Mortgage News Daily. In reaction to mortgage rates increasing, housing stocks for big builders like D.R. Horton, builders like that came down because obviously higher interest rates, not a whole lot of buyers are being like, yes, now is a great time to go buy a house, higher mortgage rates. That's exactly what I wanted. So obviously, new home construction builders are going to be feeling this if we stay long-term in these higher rates. So it kind of makes sense that their stock prices would go down. It says Lennar, D.R. Horton, and Pulte Group, they were all down on Wednesday, including retailers like Home Depot and Lowe's. Obviously, those go hand in hand, right? More homes that are being bought and sold, the more trips you're making to Home Depot and Lowe's. So let's get into the why behind this. And let's try to understand it because I'm still trying to wrap my mind around this and it's a little difficult. So it said that President-elect Trump's victory spurred a rise in the U.S. 10-year Treasury yield. And those mortgage rates typically follow that 10-year Treasury yield. All right, so we talked about how the interest rate's now into the low 7s. That's the highest since July 1st of this year. That's high. We thought we were on the right path. We thought we were coming down, and that's going the opposite way. And so here it says the expectation among bond traders coming into the election was that rates would move higher in the event of a Trump victory, especially a red sweep. We know that Trump obviously has the White House. They won the Senate, and it looks like the House is going to be controlled by Republicans as well. So that red sweep. So it says the former is enough for another bump to rates that have already abruptly risen with Trump's victory odds. So the increase in interest rates that we saw over the past couple of weeks was in reaction to or anticipation of a red sweep. So it says housing markets reacted in turn. We talked about how the builders. All right. So it says while Trump did not outlay a detailed housing plan, there's concepts of a plan, right? Just joking. So this doesn't get into it. We'll go to another article that kind of explains the reason why of the higher rates. But here's how it's going to affect you as a consumer. So we hit the recent low of 6.11% back in September. And because rates have risen since then, what you're looking at right now, if you were an average home buyer purchasing a $400,000 house, putting down 20% on a 30-year fixed mortgage, comparing your mortgage from early September to what it is today, you're looking at a difference of $216. It's costing you $216 more to own that house today than it would have been just, what is that, 6 weeks ago? And $216, that is a lot, right? We all know with inflation, grocery prices, that $216 can make a significant difference in your spending every single month or the extra funds that you may have to go do some fun stuff. So that's, not the best, right? And let's take a look at why interest rates have risen. Going over here, let me get back to this share. Where's the button? Here we go. Okay. Here we go. So this is an article from investopedia.com. And again, saying the same thing, but let's get into why these rates have gone up. Specifically, the experts are saying that it's because of Trump's tax and tariff policies, that those are more inflationary policies and overall not good for the economy. So they are anticipating that with those policies that he's said that he's going to enact, that it's actually not going to be the best for the economy. And for the short term, it's leading to negative reaction to what's ahead in the market. So Trump has promised throughout the campaign lower mortgage rates as voters across the country express frustration about the high cost of home ownership. As we all know, presidents don't have a whole lot of control over the mortgage rates, but their policies can move interest rates. So let's look here. What to expect from mortgage rates. We should expect that mortgage rates should continue to rise in the coming week based on trend and post-election yields. The good news is that we still expect the long-run trend in rates to go downward. In other articles that I read today, it basically kind of explained that with Trump's announced policies on taxes and tariffs, that overall it's going to lead to a lot of deficit spending. That deficit spending leads to higher interest rates of higher mortgage rates. Now, speaking to some other experts today, talking this through, they explained to me that with Trump's policies leading towards more gross domestic product, so a higher GDP, spurring more growth and development in the economy, long term will lead to a little bit more of a balanced budget or give us more money to reduce our deficit, which in turn will spur more people buying homes. So it's definitely very, very complicated. And I wish I had a better way to explain this or even understand it more myself, because it's really a weird time. However, we all know that if you've watched the stock market today, stock markets reacted very favorably. Obviously, a lot of corporations are very excited about what is ahead. So I'm curious to know, what do you think is ahead with the housing market? Let me know in the comments. I would love to get your input. The end of the day, having talked about this wild, bumpy ride of interest rates of what we've been on for the past good solid year and a half now. It's hard to believe how much time flies. But having this bumpy ride of interest rates, not a whole lot has changed since a year ago. So I'm thinking if I was a consumer and I was waiting on mortgage rates to come down to be more affordable, and let's just say that you have the funds and means available to do it now, maybe it just doesn't feel good and you're waiting for that right time to be like, yes, now is the time to get into the market and buy a house. Uh, if you were in that position a year ago, you're still in that same position today, right? So I would assume that the alternative that you would have to buying is that you're renting. So let's just assume your mortgage, or I'm sorry, your rent is around $2,000 and you've spent a year renting. That's $24,000 that you gave to someone else to pay their mortgage, when you could have been using that $24,000 to pay your mortgage or be in a house that you really wanted, building equity and putting yourself in a position that when things do get better, that you're able to capitalize on the lower interest rates and refinance. So, um, all that to say, you have to be in a position where financially it makes sense for you, regardless of maybe how you're feeling about how you want interest rates to be right now. Because I get it. What I don't want to have happen for you is what I've seen happen to several other clients. And I saw a fellow real estate agent that I'm great friends with down in Miami, and she made the post that she recalls this one specific couple coming to her open houses. She met them. They fell in love with the house, but felt like the market was going to turn around, that it was going to get better, and it was going to become more affordable. So they were going to wait. And then the next year, she saw the couple at a different open house, but in a different area. And they had moved to looking at homes in that little bit different area because that was now the more affordable price point, because the market held steady, prices kept coming up, and now they couldn't afford the space that they were looking at, or that area a year ago. Well, same thing keeps happening year after year. They're not ready. They're not ready. They're going to wait. And now, instead of being able to buy a house in the one neighborhood or community that they really wanted, because they're priced out now they're looking at homes 30, 45 minutes away because they're chasing that affordability, and not getting as much house or in the ideal neighborhood that they really wanted. And that is the cost or the downside associated with waiting until the market is right, or what you feel like the market is right. The market is right whenever it makes sense for you financially, in terms of you have the means to do it, and you weighed all the things in it and you come to that decision. I just don't want clients to end up in a situation where you're waiting and waiting and waiting, and now you can no longer afford what you want. What we do know is that the interest rates are going to come down. It's what all the economists are predicting. Right now, the messaging that we're seeing is that while we have this temporarily blip of interest rates up, we long term are still expected to see things adjust and shift. It's going to take a little bit longer, though, than what was originally planned, because there's a little bit of uncertainty of what's ahead, right? With policies and um, things that are going to impact the economy. So, another factor to think about right now, too, is that in terms of why it may be a great time for you, like I said, the market, especially here in the North Metro Atlanta area, is slow right now. Again, there's some pockets where it's not like this, and we're still seeing homes sell for multiple offers in just a couple of days. However, we have a lot of people that were waiting on the election outcome to kind of see how they felt about the market to make a decision. And then we're also entering holiday season. You got Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's coming up. A lot of people retract from the market during that time period, and they focus on spending time with families, celebrating holidays, and they say, oh, we're just going to, put that off until the new year. So that means that sellers who have had their home on the market for the past couple of months and have had really slow activity, we are poised to see the same slowing of activity as we've seen the past couple of months throughout the end of this year. So, for buyers, what that means for you is that likely when you come along, you find a house that you like, you are likely that seller's either first offer, or maybe you're the first offer that they've had in weeks or months. And oftentimes what I'm seeing right now is let's just say that a house is listed for 500,000. It's newly listed. You might come in as a potential buyer and say, "Hey, I would love to make an offer for this house. I'm going to offer you 475." And that seller's going to be like, "What? No way. My house is worth 500. We just listed it. I'm not going to take that low of an offer." Well, now that that home has been on the market for 6, 7, 8 weeks, they've done price drops. Let's say that now they're priced at 485, and now you come back again and you say, "Hey, I want to offer you 475." Now that 475 looks a lot more attractive, right? And so, and likely they're probably kicking themselves that they didn't take it 8 weeks ago, because now they've spent 2 months either away from the home that they really wanted because they're having to move, they're paying carrying costs, all of those things, right? So, buyers are in a great position right now to negotiate and get a good deal, get seller paid closing cost. And we have to take advantage of this. Another place that we're seeing this show up too, of really good deals in the market for buyers right now, is with new construction homes. So, a great advantage that builders have is typically they have really great relationships, or they have their own mortgage company. And so that relationship with that mortgage company gives them the ability to have access to some capital so that they can buy down interest rates for you, or they've already bought a block of mortgages back when the rates were lower. And so they can advertise and offer you that $550,000 house with a 5% interest rate. And comparatively, if you're looking at that $550,000 house with a 5% interest rate, that's the equivalent of, I don't have the numbers in front of me and have to run it, but I would just say that's probably the equivalent of a 475 house at, with a 475 resale house at today's interest rates. So you're able to have the same monthly payment, but have a brand new house, having peace of mind of everything that comes with having a new home, without having to settle for that 475 house. So there's a lot of great opportunity involved right now with new construction homes. And so it is the time to take advantage of this. Um, Conversations that I've had with other potential clients is that, again, if you have the ability to take advantage, now is the time, because based on economic predictions and the strong spring market that we typically see, is that you are going to have a lot more competition and a lot more buyers in the market come spring. I'm getting a lot of phone calls working with a lot of clients who are already planning for their move in the spring. So I'm curious if you're joining us. Let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Say hello. And if you have any questions about what's going on in the real estate market, if you're thinking about making a move, I'd love to hear your thoughts, your questions, and let's talk about it. So I'm curious, what is your outlook for the real estate market or the economy, maybe in general, based on the election results? What are you feeling? What are you thinking is going to happen? I'd kind of love to get a poll of the audience and let me know what you're thinking. Personally, it's business as usual, right? We know that no matter who is in office, people are always going to buy and sell. People always have that need. I think the real estate market in general is really excited for what is ahead with the new administration coming in. So I'm curious to see what you think. If you're new to the channel and just joining, my name is Sarah Maslowski, real estate agent here in the North Metro Atlanta area, and I publish videos every single Monday on what it's like to live here in the North Metro area, including giving you information on all the towns, all the neighborhoods, everything that you need to know. So if you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that. That way you can get alerted every single time we post a video. And if you're not following me on Instagram, I got to tell you, we are posting some really cool local stuff, insider knowledge of things that are coming, things that are being built, new developments, and some funny stuff there too every now and then. So a lot of great Atlanta traffic jokes and memes there. So I'd love to connect with you on Instagram. If you're not already following me there, I would love to see you there. All right. So what do you think? Are we going to have higher rates, lower rates? Are my comment sections working? I don't know. I've never had a video go this long where no one has made a comment. Can people hear me? Oh, okay. All right, here we go. All right. All right. Thank y'all. Thank you. At least I know I'm not talking to dead air out there. We've got Carl from New Jersey, Claire from Kentucky. Thank you for joining. At least I know it's working. So I appreciate that. Let's see what else is going on in the real estate market. Really, it's just slow, but it's a great thing for buyers. So anytime I am working with a client right now, we're negotiating a great deal. Recently, I worked with some great clients from relocating from California here to Georgia. Everything went great in terms of negotiating and finding them a great house. The roof on the home was only, 10 years old. So we knew that from the disclosures, and we thought we were doing pretty good, with this house, and didn't really expect any major red flags or anything on the inspection report. Well, we were a little bit surprised. What is happening with the camera? Sorry. We were a little bit surprised. Yes, Victor. We were a little bit surprised whenever we got the inspection report back, and shingles on the roof were not secured properly when the roof was originally put on, and it was causing shingles to fall off, and long term it was not going to be a good thing. Like the advice from the roofers was, this needs to be replaced. Like there is no fixing or repairing this. You're just kind of putting lipstick on a pig, as we like to say here. So we knew that we needed to negotiate a new roof. And this is something that I think is fun for me personally as a real estate agent. I love getting my clients new roofs. And this has happened several times for clients this year that we've been able to negotiate for the seller to pay for a new roof. One thing I thought that was funny during this transaction, we had negotiated a good deal on this house. And so when I went to the real estate agent and said, hey, this is what needs to happen, we need to get this roof replaced, he was like, what are you talking about? We've already negotiated a lot off the price of the house, and now you're expecting my seller to do this and pay this? I also saw another real estate agent recently post this, that if you're a buyer's agent and you've already negotiated a good deal, that you shouldn't then also negotiate on the inspection. My response to that is, you are negotiating based on the health of the house from everything that you can see at that moment. So whatever price you negotiate on a house up front has nothing to do with the fact of what's to come and what may come out of that inspection report. It's two totally separate different issues. The first negotiation is you're negotiating on what the market is saying the house is worth and what consumers are willing to pay. The second round of negotiations of what you discover during that inspection is just based on the condition of the house. The two are not related, unless a seller is saying upfront, I am selling this thing as is. I'm not negotiating on any repairs, buyer beware. Then the price is the price, right? So it was a little frustrating experience for me, and we prevailed in that sense. And Victor has a brand new roof and closing on his great Georgia house here on Friday. So I'm excited about that. Michael joining us from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Oh, I've talked to several people recently over the past week from Massachusetts area. So that's exciting. A lot of y'all are, I got a new camera and it like auto tracks, and I feel like it moved a little bit during this broadcast. So we'll have to figure that out later. All right. Anybody have any questions about making a move or opinions on the real estate market? Let me know. Otherwise, Clara, how long does it take to schedule an inspection after an accepted offer? Oh, great question. So it depends. And I work with two really, really great home inspectors. And one of the benefits that you get whenever you work with an experienced agent that does a lot of business in the area is typically they're going to have vendors that they know, like, and trust, because they do a good job for their clients. And so they earn that repeat business. And that's how I operate. And so I usually have two really great go-to home inspectors that can typically get me in within a day or two. So for all my clients, I like to get that inspection period out of the way as soon as possible. And so typically we're scheduling that home inspection within a day or two of going under contract, depending upon if it's the weekend, we're scheduling that home inspection for Monday. One thing that you can also expect is that you're going to get that home inspection report back that same day. Usually a couple hours later after the home inspection, but you're going to get that very, very detailed report back that same day. You're also seeing that home inspections generally are based off of the square footage of the house. If it's on a basement, if it's on a slab, basement homes are going to cost more because there's a lot more to inspect there. And typically 400 to 600-ish dollars. If it's a massive house, you're going to spend closer to 700 or 800. So that's a great question. All right. I did not put that question up there. That was Clara's question. Thanks, Clara. Carl said, are you finding sellers more motivated or still the same? I am finding that sellers are still overpricing their house. And usually they're not very motivated during the first week or two of being on the market because they're like, they're waiting to see. They think that some buyer's still going to come along and offer them their price. So when a home, though, is priced properly, we are still seeing those homes sell pretty quickly. And if it's priced right, then there's really not really any room for negotiation. However, homes that have been on the market for 30 plus days, those are the sellers that are kind of coming to their senses and realizing like, oh, this price is not cutting it. It's a huge red flag to me as a real estate agent. If you are looking at a home that's been on the market for more than 3 weeks and the seller has not done a single price reduction, or sometimes I'll see a seller do a price reduction of like $1,000. And to me, as someone that is in and out of homes every single day, helping clients every single week, that either tells me they've got a really bad agent that's giving the seller bad advice, or worse, they have a really, really stubborn seller who's just not reasonable or accepting of what's going on in the market. So I recently had a conversation with the seller of saying, hey, look, this is where we're at. And although I wish I could, I wish the market could bring you a better price for your house, this is a good price and you need to take it if your goal is to sell, because, the longer a seller is on the market, it's just death to the price, right? Because think about it. You as a consumer, when you were out there shopping for a house, one of the first things that you're going to ask me as your agent is, how long has this house been on the market? And if I tell you, hey, this house has been on the market for 60 days, you're going to be like, why? So what's wrong with it, right? And if nothing is wrong with it, the only thing that's wrong is the price. And then it becomes, well, why hasn't the seller dropped the price? Either they must not be negotiable, or you're like, hey, great, let's make an offer on this, but we're going to offer $25,000 less than what it's currently listed at. So that is typically what I'm finding. And we've been able to negotiate some really great contracts for buyers here recently. So I would not let a home's price deter you from pursuing something. It's also something that if I have a client and we cannot find what they're looking for, and let's just say that your max budget is 600, I'll say, let's go look at homes that are priced at 625. The ones that have been on the market for a while, because I bet you we can get that negotiated down to 600 to get to the price point that you want. On average, we are seeing homes spend 21 to 30 days here on the market. And that's very, very dependent upon where the house is. So we still have some really hot areas like Alpharetta, Cumming, Swanee, specific areas of neighborhoods. Again, if a home is in good condition, priced well, photographs well, that home is still selling, within 10 to 14 days. For other types of houses, we're seeing those, or other areas, it's not uncommon to see a house sit on the market for 30 days. If a home, though, has been on the market for more than 30 days, again, without that price reduction, something either wrong with the house, wrong with the agent, or wrong with the seller. And it might take a little bit, of negotiation or visiting the house or revisiting that seller a time or two to get them to see reality. So great questions. At the end of the day, I talked to my lender, one of my great lenders that I work with today, and his advice was, again, if you can afford to buy a house now, even with all of this uncertainty or what could be perceived as uncertainty, again, it's always best to go ahead and buy in the market that you know what is happening. So, uh, I mean, heck, let's just go back 4 weeks ago. Interest rates were in the low sixes. And if you bought that same house today, you're paying $250 more for the house based on interest rates. No one knew 4 weeks ago that interest rates were going to come to the low sevens and possibly continue to rise before they fall. So that's really hard to deal with. And so you don't know what is ahead, even whenever you have all these great economists predicting what's going to happen. Um, things change. But the great thing is that we can always capture that lower interest rate, but we can't do the opposite, right? So we can't capture the price on the house, and we can't capture, um, what am I trying to say? Well, you wouldn't want to capture a higher interest rate. That doesn't make sense. Claire says, we find our home, we close, we want to say paint and redo the floors. Do I have people? Yes, I have some great people. And I really take a lot of pride in those people because I feel like it's a great reflection on me, and I don't want it to be a bad reflection on me. So, yes, we've got great people from roofing to painters to handyman, plumbers, electrician, everything that you could need. And if I don't have someone for the specific trade that you need, I'm really great at going to other agents and say, hey, who do you know and trust that you've recommended to clients before? And that's the great thing about this industry is that there's people that are quick to burn some bridges with agents whenever they don't handle their clients really well. Because at the end of the day, I want to be your real estate agent for life. I just don't want it to be a one-time transaction thing. I want you to use me as a resource for as long as you live here in the area. And I want to help and maintain that really, really great relationship. So that is a fantastic question. I'll share with you my story. Last year, I renovated my house, and I thought I had done a great job at vetting contractors, gotten some recommendations from another builder. Anyways, thought I did everything right. And lo and behold, I had a nightmare of a process with that contractor, and I will never recommend them ever again to anyone that I know. And in fact, anytime I have the opportunity, I say, don't use these people. And it's just shocking to me that you're working with a real estate agent who does a lot of business in the area, who knows a lot of people, and you're not going to do a great job. Just mind blowing. So, Carl, are the rates going to go down before the end of the year, or it's going to wait for the new administration? Great question. I do not think, I think that we might see a tiny bit of movement in interest rates going over the next 2 months, but I don't think it's going to be anything significant that's going to move the needle one way or the other for you. Talking to two different great lenders today, their sentiment is that we're not going to see this until next year. And really that's because we need to see how it's going to go, what policies are going to be introduced, kind of like what the rhetoric is between now and then. Also, another thing that's kind of impacting this is the jobs market. So the economy is holding really strong when it comes to the job market. Unemployment is really, really low. And that kind of is counterintuitive to low inflation. So the inflation rate is getting to where the Fed wants it, but the job market is still very, very strong, and employers added a lot of jobs in August and September. And so they don't want to stimulate the economy too much and cause even a tighter jobs market because that doesn't help inflation. All of this convoluted stuff. So the lesson that I took away from all of my research, talking to all of these great lenders who are super smart people, is that things are going to happen at a much slower pace than what we thought they were, let's say a couple months ago. It has nothing really to do with a whole lot with the president. I guess it kind of does, but it's just a lot of factors conflating all at once. So long term, still going to get better. That's still the sentiment. And it's just going to be a much, much slower process. So, again, my takeaway from that, the conversations I had, is that buy the house whenever you're ready and you can. Just go ahead and do it. You're not, in my opinion, you're not going to miss out on some huge opportunity that's going to take place in a few months or 6 months. If you're waiting for interest rates to get into the fives, from my conversations today, that may not happen until 2026, 2027. We might get to the low sixes again by the end of next year. And, all the anticipation was, just 6, 7 weeks ago was that we were going to be in the upper fives by the end of next year. That's kind of shifted. So I would definitely take all of that with a grain of salt. No one has a crystal ball. Wish I did. And this is all just so stinking complicated. So, but what I can share with you is what's happening day in and day out, especially right here in the North Metro Atlanta area. So I appreciate you asking that great question. All right, y'all, if y'all haven't liked and subscribed, go ahead and please do that now. If you know someone that's thinking about making a move to Georgia, you need to make sure that you share my channel with them so that they can stay up to date on everything that is going on. And I would also love to help you or be their realtor of choice. Moving from Kentucky to Jersey, what do we need to do? Oh, to have me. Yes. You can reach out to me directly below this video. You'll see my contact information, and I have a great little form there that you can kind of fill out and give me some details about you. We'll schedule a strategy call. I always love to do those calls sooner than what you think you want to do it. And the reason for that is you could have some really complicated needs when it comes to housing, and we can kind of have conversation on how realistic that is. Also, if it's a very specific need, we can kind of share and put together a game plan of how we're going to find that house and how we're going to go about this. Oftentimes, I have clients that it sounds like just like you're selling and wanting to buy. Excuse me, selling and wanting to buy very close together. Takes a lot of great coordination. And so planning ahead of time can really help make that as much of a seamless process as we can for you. So I always love to connect ahead of time. Also, just to make sure that your needs and wants are available here. Sometimes I connect with clients who have plans to move here, and I'm like, oh, what you're looking for does not really exist here in our area. Here's some other great places that you should consider if you haven't already. So yes, you can go ahead and connect with me. My contact information is below this video. And yeah, thank you so much for offering or asking that great question. I oftentimes get asked a lot about questions and areas of the Metro Atlanta area. And we have like so many great videos here on the channel for you to check out that really gives you a deep dive into what it's like living here and a lot of stuff that you need to know. But I'm always seeking great ideas. So if you have a specific video that you would like to see, let me know and we will make sure that we get that video made for you, because at the end of the day, these videos are for you, right? I want to make sure that I'm providing really great value for you and helping you if you decide to make the move here. Obviously, I would love to be your realtor. And at the end of the day, I want to make sure that you have all the information you need to make a really great decision. So, okay, y'all. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on the live stream tonight. Again, we drop videos every single Monday of what's new coming to the area, neighborhoods, what it's like to live here. So make sure you check out our newest video that's coming out this Monday, and I will see you on the live stream in 2 weeks. All right, see y'all later.